Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday afternoon, and it's time for another episode of Jiles McCoy Live, your spot for tech, hi-fi, and gaming. Today is episode 309. If you can believe it, this year is just going so fast. And joining us this afternoon is J-P Panchard from Stenheim. Welcome, J.P. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Awesome.
Happy to be here.
Oh, we're super happy to have you with us, and you're coming all the way from over the pond, right? So you're somewhere in Europe. Where are you exactly?
So we are located in Switzerland, in the middle of the Alps. That's why we have this nice picture at the back. We are surrounded by a pretty high mountain.
That's beautiful. I must say that I've got some mountains here as well in Colorado in the States, but
Yeah.
I think maybe the Alps might be a nicer place to be. I don't know. Anyway, everybody. So today we're going to talk about Stenheim. And if you're not familiar with the brand, this is a quite good brand of speakers, and we're going to dig in a little bit to that. But I think to start, JP, could you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and then maybe a little bit about the company so they can kind of understand who you are and what the brand brings to the table?
Yes, Stenheim has been founded in 2010 by several young engineers and brilliant and coming from a big brand. And they launch the brand to be able to bring something a bit different. And since the beginning, I met them, and I've been very impressed by what they were able to reach with their product. I was working at Nagra at that time, and then once they decide to go on some other places, they came to see me and to check whether it's possible to take over the brand. And I was immediately enthusiastic by that, because it was exactly the things that I thought would be successful, because they were bringing something very different from the other manufacturer of the industry.
Awesome, great. And tell us a little bit about what the company produces. So you're dedicated to loudspeakers only, is that right? Or are there other things? Or
yes, it is correct. We are really focused on loudspeakers. This is the main product that we are doing. We are just making an electronic crossover for the reference line, and but really we are focused on the speaker side.
Excellent. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the speakers and okay, my American accent, I'm sure I'm going to hack up some of these words, so please feel free to correct me as I say them incorrectly. But today you offer two different lines of speakers. The one that's easy to say is the reference, and that's the higher end line. And then you also have the alumine.
Correct.
Did I get that close enough?
Exactly. The alumine, it's yes. The reference alumine, there are two also words coming from the French language. You have noticed maybe my little French accent.
A bit.
We are living in the French part of Switzerland. So alumine, yes. Why alumine? Because it's really linked to a very important part and something which is pretty different from most of the manufacturer. We are using aluminium for the enclosure exclusively, which makes something
interesting. So it's all aluminum then. So there's no wood. It's just so. No. I've always been curious about production for those kinds of speakers, right? So I don't know if you can answer these questions because this might get a little too deep, but when you're producing the cabinetry for that kind of speaker, do you take a large piece of aluminum and mill that out, or do you take a thin sheet and press that into a shape? How does that work? I've always been very curious about the production technique there.
Yeah, you have different way of manufacturing an enclosure in aluminium. So we have chosen to machine all parts.
Oh,
which is
wow.
really the most complex, because we sometimes say we are not building an enclosure like a furniture. No, we are building an enclosure like a machine. It's a real machine. All parts are assembled, and you have an internal structure made of a different part of aluminium to make a kind of skeleton. And then you have all parts that are attached, screwed, sealed, and really packed to make the best enclosure possible.
Wow. So that must give you a rather rigid enclosure then. And then I know that the speakers don't end up being very lightweight. They actually can get quite heavy. I think in the statement references 200 kilos or something like that per unit, and then you have 2 towers. Yeah, and we'll get to that in a minute. That's outstanding. I don't. I'm sure that I've seen you before at shows in the past, but I'm really looking forward to Axpona this year because you'll be there, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. I want to get through the rest of the lines, but really understanding what these are made out of is really interesting. So, in the For Americans aluminum or our alumine line, there's a 2, a 3, a 5, a sub, and a movie set. Now, the movie set, is that really just several of the 2s in a system, or are they different?
No, it's exactly that. Because in fact, we are focused on speakers, but frankly, we have the chance. It's under purpose because we decided to do like that. But some of the characteristics are very interesting also for the home theater, because we have a pretty high efficiency and very high dynamic range, very low distortion. So we have a huge capability of producing extraordinary dynamic and pressure, even from a small enclosure. This is an advantage also for the home theater. So we have decided with the small aluminum tube, we propose this model, and we put them everywhere in every channels, on front, mid, and also surround channels. And then, of course, in a home theater up to below 80 hertz, you have the subwoofer units, and we have developed subwoofer units. We can use 1, 2, depending on the structure. Of course, it's not like a typical home theater today. We have more and more integrated in the wall, I think. But using the same speakers like you are using with the 2 channels, you can have a really, really great home theater system, producing a sound which is at the level of 2 channels, which is sometimes, in terms of refinement, even higher.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm just looking at the 2 now, and for everyone out there, I'll have a link down below where you can go visit the website and see these yourself. The 2 is front ported, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and I really appreciate a front port on a speaker like that. I really like that design philosophy. Could you talk a little bit of what differentiates the 2, 3, and 5? Obviously, you have different numbers of drivers and that kind of thing, obviously, between the 2 and the 3 or 5. But the 3 and 5 look similar, but obviously are different. What is the distinguishing points between those?
Yes, in fact, we are just sizing differently. This would be the first point. Of course, we believe that the size of the speakers adapts to the size of the room first. Of course, we can think differently, but this was the starting point. And then the bigger you have, the wider frequency range you can have. And then you need to have more than 2 drivers. So the simple 2 ways of the aluminum 2 is fantastic. You have a simple crossover. It can be extraordinarily lively and without constraint, very easy to drive. But you are missing a portion of the spectrum in the lowest frequency. So yes, you have the 3 that will bring. And then we need more surface of drivers. So you have 2 bass drivers with aluminum 3 to complete, to extend the frequency range in the lowest frequencies. And then on the 5, we size up a bit the enclosure. Instead of 8 inches bass driver, we have 10 inches bass drivers, or also 2 drivers. And we are using with the 5 the mid-range of the reference line, and the same tweeter also from the reference line, which becomes the aluminum 5, which is one of the most awarded, I think, very, very, very much awarded speakers, and one of the most successful also speaker of our range, despite his higher price in the aluminum line.
Right, I absolutely understand. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And when you look at the picture, you can see the size up. Now, in this line, you also have a separate subwoofer that you can purchase, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that unit?
Yeah, the subwoofer, in fact, it came from after the design of the statements, the reference line. The reference line, you have on the statement, you have a dedicated tower for the sub frequencies. So you have a front firing and back firing 13-inch drivers, really firing in opposite direction and cancelling the force against the cabinet, which is great.
Right. Yep.
Within a closed enclosure, so you can control everything in a very, very the most accurate way. And then this is multiplied by 3 because you have 3 stairs in the sub towers. So we just got the simple ideas of saying, okay, let's get just 1 stair of the sub tower, and that was the birth of the aluminum sub, which is really close, having a close design coming from the statement model. So this is close section, so it's close enclosure with 2 13-inch drivers with an integrated amplifier. In this case, with a digital crossover to make the life easier and more compact in this size. Even the subwoofer is not that compact. It's still very powerful, and you can drive almost very easily the 2 13-inch drivers.
Now this sub, you can stack 2 of the units if you would like, right?
Correct. We have the possibility, and we have a central grounding system.
Okay.
Some other manufacturers are using it. It's very cool because you have a really central point where you can evacuate. You can really link the subwoofer to the ground, and you put on top of each other one with the same spikes pointing at the same. You have a kind of axis, so only 1 point grounding system, which makes the system very stable. You need to have a good floor to do that, of course.
Right.
But then you have the perfect solution to have the best stability.
So if someone wanted, they could take maybe 2 of the 5s and then 4 total of the subs, and have quite an amazing system, right?
Something terrific, yes, could be terrific.
Okay, that's the language I like to talk. However, there might be a language that I like to talk even more, and that's the ultime line.
Yes.
Right? So can you tell us a little bit about that? I think there are 3 different models, the 2-3 and the statement.
Correct. Exactly. We started in the reference line with the first model that we developed. We call it reference, simply. There was one we wanted to be the reference. We say, yes, that's the Stenheim reference. And this was the first development of the model. We call it Ultime 3 now. It means we have 4 bass drivers, 2 at the front, 2 at the back, 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. And you can see also on the speakers, you have a Tapolito configuration for the mid-range and the tweeter. We call it full Tapolito because you have also the two bass drivers surrounding the midsection.
Right.
You will have two bass drivers at the backfiring. So again, you have the very good stability of because the forces against the cabinet really cancel each other, which was very interesting. You control very well the sub frequency energy against the cabinet, because in speakers, in any speakers, the active part is the driver, not the enclosure, and that's sometimes the weakest point of many design, because the enclosure, even if it gives small movement, it's a high surface, so it gives a contribution to the sound, which is not good, because not only it alters the tonality, it's not correct, but also it hides the small information. So if you have a very stable enclosure, you have more definition, more details coming out, and you have less coloration coming from the enclosure. That's a big advantage in a high-end system.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, in the reference series, you're using neodymium tweeters matched also with ribbon super tweeters as well, right?
Correct. Exactly, because we wanted to have something which was at the absolute reference. So we say, yes, we want to get the best from the standard mid-range bass frequencies, but also to go higher and to go lower. So to go higher in frequencies, we say, yes, let's use a super tweeter. But the idea was not to filter the tweeter. The tweeter has to stay smooth and free from on the top. And then we just add it's a very small ribbon. Very small, it means very light. It means it's able to reach the highest frequencies. And so this super tweeter is able to reach 100,000, so 100K, which is, of course, we could. What for? We most of the people would say, especially the engineers. But we know, even if we cannot hear those frequencies, there is a simple exercise that can be done. You just switch off the super tweeter and you feel something missing in the air or something small. So it means that if you are cutting off those very high, super high frequency, it affects the rest of the bandwidth, and so it affects the sounds in general. So that's maybe a good explanation. Say yes, why we would need to go over 20 kilohertz where our human ears cannot hear.
Well, to comment on that, I've spoken with people about the phenomenon before, and where I think it's easier for people to understand that is on the low end, right? So if you think about down at 20 hertz and then information below that, it's not really audible, but there's a lot of information there that really brings life to a recording, right? I've talked to many people and they say, under 20 hertz is kind of where the room lives. And, you can feel that ambiance and size and all of these other things that are going on in the space and the recording that do not come across if you can't play that. So it seems like maybe there's something similar on the high end as well going on. Okay.
Exactly. I agree with you. And also to speak about the lowest frequency, of course, we are using really a sub system. But the driver are able also to get a certain efficiency. You heard maybe that it's one of the very important point in our speaker range that we are using pretty high efficiency drivers, at least the highest efficiency possible with a standard cone driver without horns, because yes, you can have horns and it higher the efficiency, but then you have other problems too. So no, that's to keep the standard membrane it's pretty much the highest efficiency we could get from a system. So this is very important also to explain some advantage of our system. But then to come back on the lowest frequency, it was not that easy to reach 20 hertz with the same efficiency. So that's why we are using an external active crossover, and we compensate the very lowest frequency to say that you reach those frequency, but to keep the same level like the pretty high efficiency mid-range. So this is the things we are providing with our system, this external active crossover with some specific adjustment to get this wider band. And so that's why we say that the reference line, the reference Ultim 3 is able to reach 15 hertz, which is pretty low for such a system, which is not small, but it's not the biggest on the market in terms of size, though our reference line.
So in the reference line, if we look at the top end of the reference line, now this speaker actually comes in two pieces for each channel, left and right. So there's, I guess, what is what contains the mids and the tweeters and two bass or mid bass drivers. But then there's another module that looks very similar to the tower that is just for bass reproduction. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, because in fact, after I've developed the reference model that I talked about, the first development in this range, we say, yes, if we could go further, what could we do? And we say, yes, that will be, because sometimes it's always like that. Your system size depends on the room size. And so the bigger room you have, the bigger challenge you have with the lowest frequencies, because you need to have a lot of energy, you know that. And then having a separate sub tower seems to be a bit, if you look at the numbers, you say, yes, okay, we are reaching 10 hertz. We are saying, yes, for those 5 hertz, what does it mean? And it doesn't mean much, frankly. What it means more is that you have the surface and the driver are playing in a much comfortable way, and you have also much higher dynamic range, also in the lowest frequency. Because in the lowest frequencies, you need a huge system to get the level. If you have a real 20 hertz at high level, well, you need to have a lot of hair. A lot of hair has to be moved. And so That's why this was the goal, to say, let's bring, even if we are not using for every music, but once you need it, you have it. That was the principle. And also you have it in big room.
Yeah, and just for everyone listening, when you get down to 20 hertz, there's actually a lot of information from 20 hertz down to 10 hertz. That's the full octave of sound. So that's the same distance in sound as you get from, say, 10,000 to 20,000 hertz, right? That's also an octave, right? So there's a lot of, it doesn't sound, it's just 10 hertz, but that equates to a whole octave of sound on the low end. So, if you miss that, you just miss it, and you don't have it. It's a lot to not have. So I'm very impressed. And when you look at the towers, these, I'm looking at the specifications now, and just so people can understand what they're getting themselves into, these are 300 kilograms each, right?
Correct.
So that's 660 pounds or something.
And you multiply by 4. That's yes.
I love it. So yeah, put them on your main floor, maybe not in the basement or upstairs. That's outstanding.
You need to have a good structure. Yeah, you are right. It's better to and also you need to have a good people to move the things to the floor, to the next floor if you need it.
Absolutely. Maybe a freight elevator would be better. That's
yes.
outstanding. So just to ask, in the room with you to your left, I guess there's a speaker. What model is that one? The one?
Yeah, that model is the reference Ultim 2. This is this was the last model of the reference line that we developed. maybe I can, if I can do that, if you don't mind. Yes,
Oh,
you
yeah.
see, it's floor standing. It's the same typology, also kind of it is a full Dapolito, but we don't have the bass driver at the back. So the intention in that design was to say, yes, let's bring the reference level in a smaller room. Again, this size of the room, you have a different product to go there. So we have noticed that many Asian audiophile customer, rich customer, have a very teeny small room. So it's pretty difficult to come with a big system because it's completely overload the room. So we developed something that was more suitable for those type of rooms. And then we came with that model. Of course, it's also cheaper because the technology is a bit more simpler. As we go a little bit, we don't go as low, we go up to 25. We don't need to go as high because it's a kind of a symmetry, about this also rules, having that if you go lower, you should go higher. Otherwise, you have a kind of unbalanced sound. So we don't have the super tweeter on this model. But the tweeter goes already to 35 kilohertz, which is already pretty high for a high-end audio system.
Yeah, the one thing I want to call out about the model is that, just for everyone viewing it, the design is extremely elegant from a number of points of view. The color scheme I find very attractive, but just the symmetry of the unit is very pleasing to the eye when you look at it. It feels to me like a complete speaker. When you look at it, I say, okay, that's the way it should be. It all the pieces are mirrored and it just looks very, very good. So, my compliments to the designer there, for the aesthetics of the unit.
Thank you very much, because this was also a part of the challenge, because that's not easy to make something very efficient and pretty nice looking, and to have something, of course. Some are saying, yes, the form follow the function, which is true in a certain sense, but still you have a little room to improve the form without distracting us from the real concern about the quality. So yes, we did a lot of research, and every time we develop a new model, we take care about that, and we try to get our designer, graphic designer, involved in the process to have even small things can be slightly changed, and you have suddenly something which becomes elegant. We really believe it's important, because those big systems that goes in a beautiful room, beautiful house, yes. It's much better if it looks a bit elegant. It's already
it's important. Absolutely.
Yes.
So just my final comment on that piece is, I've had this discussion with a number of people as well, and they say, don't worry about the aesthetics, don't worry about the looks. It's just all about the function. And my point of view on this is, when I'm trying to complete or create a full experience, obviously I'm buying speakers for sound reproduction so that the environment and the system will sound as good as possible. However, if I'm going to sit down in this room and experience this great audio, I want there to be a pleasing visual as well. I don't want there to be, something ugly. And frankly, if I'm going to spend money, it better look good too.
Right? Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and you've been very successful.
You are right. That's very important, and yes, I think it makes sense. It goes in the living room. We don't have to forget. Otherwise, it won't get in your living room. Somebody will say, no, it will not go in my living room.
So, and yes, in my family, that's going to be me. Yeah. I'm going to say no. If it's not nice, it's not coming in. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about another topic, and that's Xpona, right? So the show is coming up this coming weekend. Will you be there? And if so, what can people see and hear?
Yes, I will be there because it's a very important show, and US is also a very important market. And then I want to be there to. And we have also two partners which are very important for us. Nordost, we are partnering with them in their room together with VTL, and we have our dealer in Chicago displaying the Alumin line, smaller model, the Alumin 3 SE that will be displayed in this room in the stairs. And then, yes, the customer that comes to the show will be able to listen to one model of the reference line, the reference Ultim 2. That's the model that you see there. That's our latest model. And this model will be played with some little tricks comparing to the last year to improve a bit we have a very challenging room where we are, a huge bar room, not with the best acoustics, but we will try to get the best of that with our latest model, and then I'm pretty sure that we'll reach a great level.
That's outstanding. Very exciting.
Yeah, and the Alumin 3 SC will be there with the musical artisan. And yes, they are very passionate and very enthusiastic and very behind the brand, and they are great. And we will have the first launch in America, in US, I would say, the Alumin 3 SC. It has been recently presented at the Montreal show. So this will be the Alumin 3 SC presented for the first time in America, in US. And that's like with Alumin 5, like all model now, we have the standard version, which is already great. And at a certain time, we say, yes, let's go a little bit further by really employing already incredible components for our crossover. And let's go further. We have different level of components quality for each type, and then let's go at the end, let's go at the maximum, and we go a bit further. So we have the same specification but with the highest level of components. So we call it the special edition. Internal wiring also is different, binding post, little tips, and that makes almost the same. In fact, it's the same visual aspects, but we have something better in the middle. Like if you have a car, you can have the standard, you can have a super car with a different engine and different components. That's a bit the same concept.
That's outstanding. I'm really looking forward to seeing and hearing this particular speaker. I will make sure to come and find you so we can listen to this. I'm really excited. Okay, we're running out of time, so I want to finish off with a couple items that are very, very important, right? So first, for customers in the United States that are interested in purchasing your speakers, what is the process that they can follow to, one, find a dealer to make a purchase, and then how do they hear the speaker? I mean, obviously they could go to Expona or another show. Is there another way that they would be able to hear them as well?
That's unfortunately the only way is the traditional way is to go to some place where you can display. Of course, we have now a dozen of dealers around North America, so we should have one in each region, maybe not all region, but now since the beginning of the year, with the help of our new partner, Walter Scofield from Nexus Audio Technology, and he is helping us to develop the dealers network, to enlarge and to give the better possibility for the customer to listen to our product. This is the goal.
And so those dealers would be the same locations where they would make their purchases as well, correct?
Yes, the dealers, yes, they bring they have a demonstration speakers, so they are able to demonstrate the product, and of course they will make the installation too. That's really important, because you know very well an audio system, if it's not properly installed, you will miss a lot. You need to have the good advice of a dealer to get the best of a system. It's a pretty, yes, it's like a supercar. Yeah, you if you want to get the maximum, you need to have people helping you, and then that's the important fact. So you need to get the best, and some professional can help you to go in this direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can, the speaker will take you down the track quite a bit, but if you want to cross the finish line,
yes,
and have things as good as they possibly can be, the setup and the final touches in the room are always very important, and pros can make all the difference there, as opposed to just doing it yourself if you're not yourself a professional. Great. Well, JP, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been wonderful to hear about your brand, and the new things that are coming that people can see at Axpona. So thank you so much.
But you are welcome. It's my pleasure to be there and to have the possibility to explain a few things about our product. It's our passion. We are so happy to share this passion with the audience as large as possible, because we always say we need to bring the experience. And one of what we believe is that if you don't make the experience, you can't imagine what you have. And our pleasure is to help also people to discover the pleasure, to rediscover the pleasure of listening to music. That's sometimes a bit lost and less. Yeah, that's a great thing to have a huge system and big and nice system that's help you to enjoy the music in the best manner.
I agree that it's all about enjoying the music and having the right tools to do so. Okay, so everybody out there that's watching, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget, like and subscribe. And on Tuesday evenings, you can come and hang out and ask questions as well. And every Friday, we'll have an industry guest join us to talk about some cool, new, and exciting technology. So thanks again for joining. See you guys next week.